In this video, I wanted to illustrate my own solution to the colorization problem. I've approached this problem in many different ways. I originally started out trying to fully automate the process by training a computer program on colored images and looking at pixel patterns and things, and then trying to apply what it had learned on a black and white image that it hadn't seen before. And ultimately, I've shifted towards a completely manual process, similar to what people can do with Photoshop or other image editing software. I've created my own software that can do many of those things. And I've actually added some things that I don't think are traditional features in Photoshop. I'm not sure because I'm not really a professional Photoshop user myself. But I wanted to illustrate what my program can do. And this is an image of Gary Cooper and Barbara Stanwyck. And if you notice, there's blue lines outlining some of the objects, actually all of the objects here. That's because I've already gone through and outlined everything. That's the most tedious and time-consuming part of this process. And I'll illustrate just so you can see what it's like. If I go to vertex mode here, I can start making little shapes, and obviously that's not even part of the image, but I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see what it looks like on like the pupil here. If I click on it, you'll see that it's got all of those vertices, and it makes up a polygon. And you might be wondering why there's a line in between two polygons, and that's because I wanted to make it easier to color them both at the same time. So they are in fact one polygon, and this piece right here is just so thin that no pixels are contained there, so it all works out. You'll see when I start to color things. Anyway, so I've gone through, I've already outlined everything, so now all I have to do is start adding color to it. So the first thing I want to do, let's just add some color to her dress. Got some sliders over here. This one with the S stands for saturation. So I can up the saturation, and right now the hue is 0, which is red. If I go all the way across the spectrum, I'll get the whole rainbow. So red, yellow, green, blue, purples, things like that. So let's make her have a bluish dress for now. And saturation, as you probably noticed when I first adjusted this slider, is really how vibrant a color is. If something has low saturation like this, it's closer to gray. If something is high saturation, it's the pure form of the color. So let's just put it somewhere right here in the middle for now. We'll come back later to this hue variation and saturation variation stuff. I just want to add a starting color to everything first, and then we can tweak some of these other things. You'll notice the face is one of the hardest things to get to look right. I could do that, but that looks a little too pasty, too white. So I might think, okay, let's make it redder. What we really want is more saturation, but you'll see this kind of poses a problem. Where it's just too much of the same color. And that was actually what inspired me to create these hue variation and saturation variation sliders. And I guess now's a good time to show you what they do. So let's click on his skin again. If I move over this hue variation slider, it will allow there to be more than just the chosen color. And as you can see, that's too much variation, 120 degrees out of the total 360 on the rainbow spectrum. And that's kind of too yellow, right? So maybe make our starting color all the way to the left. It's getting a little bit better. Let's adjust this slider now, this one that says saturation variation. And this is going to make the lighter parts of the objects have less saturation, and the darker parts have more saturation. And I should have explained what the hue one does. The hue variation makes lighter parts yellower and darker parts redder in this case, because red is to the left of yellow. So wherever my hue is, it'll go to the left for darker values and to the right for lighter values. So that's a pretty good starting point. I'm going to go through and tweak some of these values even more because there's a lot of cool things you can experiment with. I mean, don't just go with the very first colors you choose. She might look better with a green dress, for instance. So I'm going to go through and tweak these values even more, and then I'll include a picture of what the final product looks like. Okay, thanks for watching.